very warm welcome to the playground of the rich, and still a city-state that amidst the COVID-related disruption around the world is easy on the eye and a delightful place to spend a long weekend. We're in Monte Carlo, of course, Stade Louis II Stadium, sitting to the west of the Principality on reclaimed land. And do not adjust your sets, things are almost normal in the sport of athletics, at least they are tonight here for this first full-blooded Diamond League meeting of 2020. The weather conditions, well, as ever, absolutely perfect here. 27 degrees centigrade, a very slight breeze coming in off the Mediterranean. There are purportedly some 5,000 spectators in the stadium, although they're still coming in. It doesn't look like anything like that at the moment, when of course social distancing is an absolute necessity. Myself, Tim Hutchings and Steve Cram with you now for the next couple of hours here. And the fields are extraordinarily strong, considering so many athletes have had very, very few competitions. Some athletes have had a half a dozen if they've been lucky, depending on their base, but the vast majority haven't had many, and there's been whisperings of world records this evening in some events. But I'll pass you over to Steve for this first event of the evening.
Evening, everybody. We begin with the men's 110-meter hurdles, and our first world champion of the evening. Grant Holloway going in this against Olympic silver medalist Orlando Ortega. Andrew Pozzi of Great Britain, who's been already running very fast this year. Prince Albert, a keen fan of athletics, and the Principality and all of the organisers here have done a fantastic job to get so many big names, with all of the travel restrictions in place, lining up here in what is essentially the first proper athletics meeting of the season. Vukasevich will be in lane 1, the Norwegian. Next to him, the improving young Swiss hurdler, Jason Joseph. Already, last year, the European Under-23 champion, and a new personal best set in Switzerland just last week. Well, Grant Holloway, what a stunning season he had in 2019. Of 17 races, he won 13 of them. Didn't run so well in the Paris Diamond League, which he came over for, but of course then got himself ready for the World Champs, where he managed to prevail in a race which saw so many casualties. Ortega, you saw there, Andrew Pozzi, disappointing summer after trying to build on his world indoor title from the previous year. Bolossian, the Frenchman, French hurdlers, always so consistent, so good. Alcanar, a couple of years ago, was posting some very quick times, the South African record holder. He goes in lane 7, and then in lane 8, Paolo Dal Molin, the veteran from Italy. So if you look at the world best so far, it's Pozzi who leads 13.17, just shy of his personal best, in really, really good form. He's been based in Italy during all of this summer. Jason Joseph next best, and then this man, the world champion, is actually only 3rd fastest in the world this year, but this is second outdoor serious race. Ortega will be hoping he can stay with the American. Perfect conditions. Maybe they would have liked a slight following breeze, and actually they do have the faintest of a whisper of a breeze behind them. Brand new track in Monaco, you can see. It's hardly had any spike marks placed in it yet. What a baptism it has tonight. Men's 110 hurdles. Holloway gets a very good start. He is a good starter, the best of times. He's already got half a yard on Ortega. Pozzi going well right in the middle, but it's the world champion, and here comes Pozzi. It's going to be very tight on the line here. Pozzi is charging. Who's going to get this one? It's Ortega who comes through. The pair of them just off the last 2 barriers. What a great race that was. 13.11. The world champion beaten by the Olympic silver medalist. And Pozzi, who just about had it going to the last barrier, then Ortega, really stormed off that last flight. A world-leading winning time. We'll see if that gets rounded down any more. Pozzi's rewarded with a personal, equaling his personal best in 2nd place. Both of them ahead of the world champion. Tim.
Well, what a fascinating race that was. I mean, I'm convinced that Holloway led over the first half of the race. There he is, third from right, really good and quick out of the blocks, and he's normally technically so sound. Pozzi came strong there in the middle of the race. Ortega was back in third here, even a couple of barriers out. He was so strong off the final barrier, though, really cleared that one well and just dipped at the line there to take it, Steve. Great times. The first four under 13:20.
Belosian getting ahead of Holloway in the end as well. So the Frenchman dipping for the third spot, but what a high-quality event to begin the evening with. And Holloway, well, it was a bit like last year when he came over the Diamond League season. He got a little bit of a shock. He said he was a bit tired. He'd already had a long season in the US, went home, regathered himself for the Worlds in Doha, came back in superb shape, and he's always very consistent. Another good time, but he's found three men right at the top of their game here to beat him.
Well, each one of these races, Steve, so much more significant, isn't it? With so little racing done, so little to come, really.
So many athletes in such good shape despite all of the restrictions. So Ortega will lead 13.11. That's a great time at any season. And Pozzi equaling his personal best in second.
Well, there's one of the big names coming up in the pole vault. Probably the biggest name with, as we understand, although he's still on our computer system, Sam Kendricks, the world champion over the last two occasions, pulling out in the last half hour because his poles haven't arrived, can you believe? And he's been in Europe since Monday. Absolutely bizarre story for a man, the American, who keeps a couple of sets of poles here in Europe. But we saw Armando Duplantis just then, the World Championship silver medalist behind Kendricks in the World Championships last year in Doha. And the European champion, of course, Duplantis, the astonishing talent of that event at the moment, and it makes him stand out perhaps as an even more strong favourite with Kendricks pulling out.
So this is Ben Broders, who, our first athlete in the pole vault we're going to see, came in early at 5:30 to get a bit of a sighter, and this may not be the longest competition given that there are now only 5 men in this. Have to also say that Valentin Lavillenie failed the COVID test. All athletes were tested in the days leading up to this. He had a positive test, so also not in it, as Broders nicely clears 5:50, early stages in this pole vault. But as Tim was saying, explaining, Sam Kendricks, the world champion, and Valentin Lavillenie, late withdrawals for very different reasons. So Broders clear. Well cleared, to be honest, and well, that's a confidence booster for him. They'll all be expecting Duplantis to win this, but certainly opportunity to come second for one or two athletes who may not normally finish in that sort of position.
Well, Claudio Michael Stecchi then at 5 meters 50, his opening height. Could have come in at 5:30, opting for this. And good decision. I'll tell you what, that was a really comfortable clearance too, wasn't it? Way, way over that. And goodness me, he's got plenty more in the tank. Whether or not it comes out this evening, I don't know. But he made that look very, very easy indeed. And the Italian there, 28 years old, not that familiar name on the Diamond League circuit. But he was a World Championship finalist, finished 8th in Doha last year. Lifetime best 5:75, which funnily enough, he did at those World Championships in Qatar. Season's best too, just like that. It was a 5:40 before that vault. Well, there's a familiar face, a former world champion himself in 2003 in Paris, if I remember rightly. Name will come.
So this is Obiena. Nervous moments, but what an opportunity, as I was saying, with the Sam Kendricks not there. Nice clearance that time. As if to say, slaps the bed as if to say, yeah, okay, what happened the first time? So yes, just setting the scene for this pole vault. Duplantis, understandably, passing on the early heights. So Obiena, nicely clear now. Yeah, the issue about the poles, we're talking about Kendricks. Apparently somebody was meant to be bringing them from Clermont-Ferrand, if that's the right way to pronounce it.
But that's not very... Well, it's in France. I mean,
it's forgotten.
And he's been here since Monday. It's an utterly bizarre story.
It is. Well, another season's best there, Obiena, 5:50.
Next event on the track is the men's 800 meters, and what a lineup for this one there is. There to extreme right of picture, you can see the men getting ready behind their blocks. The world lead 1:43.84. That was by Donovan Brazier back on the 31st of July, less than 2 weeks ago. And Brazier, the world champion from Doha in such spectacular style, remember, back in October, is in this field. So is Hopl, his compatriot, who was at the age of 21 a spectacular 4th at the World Championships. Well, the pacemaker is Mame Ibra Anne of France. He's been tasked with going out at 49.5. And the 30-year-old is better known perhaps as a 400-meter runner. Has run 45.2. There is Brazier, reigning world champion. Set a US indoor record for 800 back in February at the Millrose Games, 1:44.22. And he's in great form, a relaxed 3:35 for 1500 recently. Benjamin Robert of France, close to his personal best 8 days ago, but he should struggle in this sort of company. His best is only 1:46. Ferguson Rotich, 3rd in the World Championships, 4th back in 2015. Very experienced, the Kenyan. He was 5th in Rio. He broke 1:43 as long ago as 2014. There is Bryce Hopl, I was telling you about just now, 4th in those World Championships. An NCAA champion last year, collegiate champion in the USA. That's how young he is, Hopl. And then the Australian pairing, Joseph Deng, set an Australian record here in 2018 of 1:44.2. And Peter Boll, his training partner and great friend, the winner in Stockholm a couple of years back. That is Amal Tuka, who goes in lane 3 for Bosnia-Herzegovina. He was the silver medalist behind Brazier in Doha. Set his personal best here 5 years ago now. Tuka, an astonishing 1:42, a season in which he improved 3.5 seconds. Kyle Langford, Commonwealth Games silver medalist for Great Britain, going in lane 2. He shares that lane with Marco Arop, 7th placer. The Canadian at the World Championships last year. He's still only 21. And there on the inside, Mark Reuter of Germany. Won the German title last year in Berlin, and his only outdoor race this year was the German Championships at the weekend, when he won in 1:46.9. But conditions perfect. How fast will Brazier go here? He is the favourite. So many people feeling that Brazier there, 2nd from top out in lane 7, is a talent that perhaps, and you should whisper it in a way, I suppose, with due respect, perhaps could threaten one day the world record of David Rudisha from 2012 at those London Olympic Games. But Anne has come across quickly. He's meant to be going out in 49.5. I think he's a relatively inexperienced pacemaker, so I hope he doesn't go out too hard this next couple hundred meters. Brazier slots into 3rd place there behind Rop. But it looks nice and steady, not super quick, although Brazier, Steve, has a deceptively relaxed style, doesn't he? He's tall, he's about 6'3", and he lopes along looking very, very easy at this sort of tempo. Let's see what they go through in. I think this is going to be a little bit on the slow side.
Well, I think that's a really good pace, actually, if you want to run 1:42, 1:43. I think people like Brazier can run off fast pace, but he's good as well when he's relaxed. You just said it, Tim. He's looking really superb at this point. But Arop, look at him taking it out. You got Hopl just trying to track Brazier as well, and others now trying to move up down the back straight. But Brazier looking good.
Arop is big and powerful, isn't he? So is Brazier, though. Hopl in the slipstream of his American compatriot. That's 1, 2, 3. Boll in 4th place. He and Deng have been doing superb things in training recently. I know their manager is here. Got big hopes for them as Brazier now moves onto the shoulder of Arop, the Canadian. No signs of strain on any of their faces yet, as Bryce Hopl moves down the outside. Is he going to threaten the world champion? Brazier still looking relaxed. He never shows any sign of strain. Driving towards the line. Watch the clock. It is going to be quick. 1:43.15. Well, improves his own world lead by the best part of a second as Donovan Brazier. And frankly, he looked like he was running that on about 3 cylinders out of 4. Very relaxed indeed, my word. I mean, his personal best was set in that World Championship final last year in Doha, 1:42.3, and there's clearly more in the tank, but he dominated that one in a way that the times don't really tell, because he's won it by a very small margin, Steve, but at a canter.
He looked so relaxed, didn't he, go down the back straight and just moving through. Great race, though, and he's dragged others to a whole bunch of personal bests behind him, including Arop, who, let's hand it to him, he really took it out, followed the pacemaker, kept the pace hard, made Brazier work. Brazier had to go wide around the bend here. Hoppel also having to go try and follow Brazier. And then you thought Brazier might just keep moving away, but he's just stays strong, he's got good action, holds on to it. Hoppel, if anything, closing him. Arop fades, but still rewarded with a big personal best, and a whole host of personal bests behind him in the 144s and under 145. So good race yet again. We're only 2 races in, but look at Brazier there. Not much in it in the end, though. Tim, Hoppel was closing.
Isn't it bizarre? A world lead for Brazier, but he's the only one out of the first 6 that didn't set a personal best. Hoppel and Arop in 2nd and 3rd personal bests, by over a second for Hoppel in 2nd place. Robert of France, Carl Langford in 5th, setting personal bests. There it is, Brazier 143.15, a comfortable win over his compatriot Arop in 3rd place, and a personal best galore in that men's 800.
Only 3 field events tonight. Men's pole vault, we've already mentioned. Women's high jump, Levchenko is in there. And we know that she loves jumping here in Monaco, but everybody will be watching. Yes, Katrina Johnson-Thompson, world heptathlon champion, of course, very, very good high jumper. And we'll be also looking out for Jaroslav Mahuchik, the young world silver medalist, beaten by Lazitskena last year at the World Championships. Well, Kat has been at home for the early part of lockdown. There's Mahuchik, who still is so young, just 18, and what a talent. 3 times over 2 meters indoors in the winter. Really interested to see how she's going to go outdoors.
Well, back to this vault, which is building up nicely despite the loss of 2 significant names to the field. And Tiago Braz, well, he's the Olympic champion, this man. That was his day of days in Brazil. He was only 22 back then. Of course, most of these athletes should have been competing in the next Olympics in Tokyo over the last couple of weeks. That's nice and comfortable for Braz. 2nd attempt at 560 there, pops over. He's already cleared 550 at the 2nd attempt. But a man with a personal best of 6:03, which he set in that final in Rio. And he's a man who's had, if you'll forgive the pun, his own fair share of ups and downs over the last 2 or 3 years, and never really looked like an Olympic champion who was going to stamp his authority on the event. But while, of course, there's Kendricks and Duplantis and others who have been so strong, he hasn't really been up there battling with them on very many occasions at all in the last 3 seasons.
So back on the track, no let-up in the quality of the action. The women's 5,000 meters, reputedly a world record attempt by Sifan Hassan, but she's got up against Helen Obiri, and the last time the 2 of them raced over 5,000 meters, Obiri actually beat her in the London Diamond League last year. I've got 4 world titles here held by 3 women. You can see one of them there, Beatrice Chepkoech, the world steeplechase champion. You've got Sifan Hassan, the world 1,500 and 10,000 meter champion, and then Helen Obiri, the world 5,000 meter champion. And then throw in some of Europe's best there, Laura Waitman and Ailish McColgan of Great Britain. You've got Gidai of Ethiopia in there, Shannon Robury. So plenty of talent here. The question is, how fast are they going to go? I mentioned the world record. It's one that has stood a long time now, since 2008. Tirunesh Dibaba on a beautiful night in Oslo can remember 14:11.15. There's Gidai, who took the silver medal at the World Champs in the 10,000 meters, and that personal best at 5,000. I'm sure she can go a little bit quicker as well, and if she perhaps feels as though she can maybe take on Hassan in the middle of the race, I don't think Sifan Hassan will want to pick it up after the pacemakers, and she's probably had been hoping they might have 1 or 2 more in the race who could have taken the pace longer tonight, because she says she's in great shape. So will Helen Obiri take up the challenge? We shall see. Now, what you're going to see, there's various innovations tonight. We've got crowd noise being added, as you've seen in lots of sporting events during this summer. Plus, tonight, we've also got the the wave light going on the inside, which will set at world record pace. We'll see that shortly. Women's 5,000 meters. So they've asked for 69-second laps thereabout for the first couple of K, and then really see how the race develops. Guerrero is going to try to help Winnie Gibet, the Spanish athlete, better known obviously over 1,500 meters and 800 meters. Will run a couple of laps, 2-3 laps, and then Winnie Gibet asked to then take it on after that. Sifan Hassan already happy to sit towards the back. So whatever Sifan, it's her normal tactic, even when she's going for fast times. She always starts a little bit slowly, but she's not really that interested at this point as they go through the first 200 meters. Guerrero and Winnie Gibet are two pacemakers.
Steve, there have been around the globe over the last few weeks some astonishing performances by various athletes in the USA and in Europe in their first races out. Very, very quick times, but I'm not sure how realistic it is to talk about a world record in the first big race of the summer for the majority of these athletes. You know, athletes vary enormously. Some people love to come out and go bang in their first race and produce a massive performance. Your old friend from the northeast of England, Brendan Foster, was like that. But most athletes prefer a series of races to build up to a sort of season crescendo.
They do, and it's been tricky. Laura Waitman, who's effectively leading the main contenders, not sure what to do here, because she was expecting, like the others, I think, that Sifan Hassan, Gidai, Obiri would be locked in behind the pacemaker, because it's not silly pace, but they've all decided they're just going to hang off. Gidai finally just starts to move up a little bit, but Hassan happy to sit in the pack. But you're right, Tim, this whole idea of what shape am I in? You've got to come bang into a race like this. For some, they've had some races. For many, they haven't. So for us watching, it's intriguing to see what's going to happen here.
Well, and so often, of course, in middle distance races and distance races in particular, it's about confidence, isn't it? If you have got a couple of races under your belt, they've proven your fitness, your ability to hit the straps okay, then you can go out harder in the first half of a big, high-profile race. But if you're taking steps into the unknown, which to an extent most of these athletes are doing, although some of them will have done 1 or 2 time trials over shorter distances in recent weeks, if you're stepping into the unknown, then your confidence inevitably has a big question mark hanging over it.
And Sifan Hassan has said that she's looking forward to some longer races. She's going to be attacking the world 1-hour record on the track in Brussels at the Diamond League meeting there in early September. And that's something a little bit different, isn't it? But so far, she's sitting right off the pace. And in fact, is a good 10 meters behind Helen Obiri, just beginning to look a little bit more interested now as she senses that Obiri is getting a little bit closer, following Gidai. Chepkoech coming through as well as the first 1,000 meters spot on with the pace. 2:52.55 at the front for Guerrero, and Winnie Gibet will be asked to pick it up when the Spaniard decides that she can do no more.
That's not bad. I mean, obviously 2:50 is 14:10 pace. 2:52.55, Steve, clearly just outside 14:20 pace. So I don't think that's too bad. Would have been nice to see it a second or so quicker, but we shouldn't get too picky at this stage. Gidai, I'd like to see stride out there in third place. She's a beautiful looking runner, right up on her toes. She almost sort of gallops. She's a tall lady, and I still think has a lot of untapped talent in those legs. She ran I think a world best for 15 kilometers on the road back last winter, controversially in some of those new shoes which have been getting headlines. And I feel she might be an athlete who could take it on and push it on through the second half.
Well, I don't know if you noticed it, but the green lights, which they were setting the pace that was asked for, the green lights are about 3-4 meters behind the pacemakers, but they won't be too stressed about that. The pace is good. It's what was asked for. A little gap appearing between Waitman and McColgan as we break off for Duplantis.
We do indeed, yes. Duplantis here, coming in at 5:60, his opening height. Last man to come in from this small field, just 5 athletes. Lots of speed, lots of aggression, and an extravagant vault there. He was, I don't know, 2/3 of a meter clear of that. He didn't like it. Clearly, and rightly, I suppose, when you're somebody who people are already beginning to hang the tag of world record around the neck of. Clearly, you judge yourself by very high standards, but he pops over 5:60. And it makes it look all too easy. And One or two other athletes, 3 athletes have already failed their first attempts at that. So it's not something that so many athletes can take in their stride. Duplantis, of course, coached by his father, and he's in a press conference yesterday, he described his mum and a couple of other ladies as angels because they drove 25 hours down from Sweden with his poles.
Early stages of the women's high jump. Levchenko, first look at her, 184. Easy enough. It's important for the athletes to get a feel for the stadium as well. There have been a few competitions, as we said earlier. Levchenko, though, deciding to come in early. Nicely done.
Well, she's only had a couple of jumps, Steve, making it look pretty easy, and that's the season's best for Levchenko, the Ukrainian, of course, at this stage of this season.
Yeah, had a decent indoor season. That's her first outdoor jump. Just slowing up in this 5,000 meters. Winnie Chibet not really being able to take it on. Helen Obiri looks as though she's itching to move it. Just having a little chat, I think, there to Chibet. There's Gidai, Laura Waitman just clipping the heels of Gidai as it slows up. They're all getting a little bit anxious here. No sign that Hassan wants to run fast here. So Winnie Chibet moves out. Helen Obiri knows that Hassan can just burn everybody in the last 1,000 meters, so she won't want to let it drop too much. Those lights are disappearing ahead of that field now. That was a very slow lap, and in fact it's Laura Waitman just moving to the front, deciding she doesn't want this to slow. I can tell you as a coach, I know she's in great shape and coming here wanting a quick time. So Helen Obiri slots in behind Waitman, Gidai, then Sifan Hassan, then Chet Koech.
Always frustrating, Stephen, at 5,000 metres when the pace slows mid-race, when you've had pacemakers early on. They did struggle, I think you said already, to find a pacemaker of adequate quality, and they haven't been able to do that. But Waitman here taking the lead because she has worked so hard. You've been telling me this last couple of days what fabulous shape she's in, really in her best shape ever. And she wants this race, this time, to reflect that fitness. She doesn't want it to be 4 kilometres slow with just a burn up over the last kilometre. Obiri, but nice to see others sharing the work here.
Well, they're all lining up behind the British athlete. Not what we were expecting here. Chepkoech just looking as though she's struggling a little bit. So we're coming around with 6 laps to go. Laura Waitman of Great Britain leading. Obiri, the world champion, in second. Then Gidai, then the world 10,000 and 1,500 meter champion in 4th place.
Katarina Johnson-Thompson then in a little bit of trouble in this high jump. The world heptathlon champion. A 3rd attempt for her at 184. Popped over 180 without any trouble. But this is a pressure jump for the Briton. Oh, yes. Makes it look easy. Took off a long way from the bar. She's a 198 jumper, and when you get up towards 2-meter territory, you are in a rarefied atmosphere that very few can survive in. That 198 came in Rio back in 2016 for Johnson-Thompson. It's her strongest discipline, and she stays in the contest with that 3rd time clearance. Phew. So, Gabriela Petrova. Now Petrova in the first round of this triple jump. Lots of speed, good power, fabulous middle phase, and a pretty solid second phase. And that's not a bad jump at all. Looks to go beyond 14 meters there. Now, saw her jump earlier in the week in Turku where she was second in 14:08. Just loses a little bit of momentum there. You've got to maintain the speed. Just squeezes onto the board. Petrova. Wonderfully built for the discipline. But that for Petrova, 14:06, well, a really solid start. And she can build on that, there's no doubt about it.
Women's 5,000 continuing. 4 women well clear now. Great Britain's Laura Waitman with Helen Obiri, Sifan Hassan following. Gidai, who's picked it up. Waitman kept the pace going. And then these 4 pulling away. They're on pretty good pace. 8:41 through 3,000 meters. And that's quick. Certainly for Waitman, it's very quick. For Gidai, it's pretty quick. Obviously, Obiri, one of only 5 women who've gone under 14:20 for 5,000 meters. Sifan Hassan, still happy to let the others do the work, has not gone anywhere near the front. 4 laps to go, a 69-second lap there. When will Hassan start to wind this up? When will she decide she wants to take it on? Letting Gidai, the young Ethiopian, lead this for the time being. These 4 a good 30-40 meters clear of the rest.
I always found the 4th kilometre the toughest in a 5,000, Steve. You're well past halfway, the fatigue is beginning to build, but you're still a long way out. And psychologically, it's probably the toughest section of the race. It's a bit like most of that 3rd lap in a mile race. Once you're past the bell in a mile, you know better than anyone. You can give it just about everything. In a 5,000, in the 4th kilometre, you still know you've got 4, 3, 2 laps to go, a long way to go, and it can hurt. You can see Laura Waitman there in 3rd place, struggling with the psychology of this. Does she go with those 2 and maybe chance fading badly in the last couple of laps, or does she ease back and try and optimise her performance?
Well, Laura Waitman running at a pace way inside her previous best, 14:44. She's looking at more like something like 14:30. And Paula Radcliffe's British record, and Paula Radcliffe's in the stadium, is 14:29.1. I'm looking down. But these 4 well clear, all of them starting to move this to good pace. The lights for the world record are about 3, Tim, maybe 3-4 seconds ahead of them. Could Sifan Hassan produce 1,000 meters to pull that back? I know when Dibaba broke the world record in Oslo, she ran 2:43. It would be phenomenal. But Hassan, is she tired? Is she grimacing?
Well, Hassan is eminently... Oh, my word, she steps aside. Hassan, at 4K, 11:34, Steve, is gone.
I thought I saw a grimace on her face, Tim.
Wow. Well, down to 3. Remy Charpentier there, the man in charge of putting these fields together, really concerned clearly for her health and safety as Obiri pushes on, Steve. And I know as a coach, your heart must be pounding, well, probably as much as Laura's.
Well, Laura Waitman has really committed herself, but the other 2 are now moving away. And she's going to have a real battle. She's going to be trying to keep them somewhere near for those last 2 laps, but that's going to be a tough one with Hassan now dropping out. So it's between Obiri, the world champion, Gidai, the silver medalist in the 10,000 meters. Those world record lights aren't that far away, and Gidai looks the more comfortable. Helen Obiri still looks strong though, and the 2 of them pick it up again down the back straight as Gidai tries to go past the Kenyan. The classic battle, Kenya versus Ethiopia in the latter stages.
Lap and a half to go, and I expected Gidai to push this through the second half of the race, and that's what she's done. She knows that Obiri has got a devastatingly quick finish, and she's trying here with 500 to run just to drag that sting out of the tail of the Kenyan. The flapping arms of Obiri are deceptive. When she actually changes gear, she is mighty swift, and Obiri hanging onto the coattails of Guido, who's trying to crank it up 100 meters by 100 meters to tire the Kenyan before that last 200.
The bell, Gidai from Obiri. 2-3 seconds, 4 seconds ahead of Waitman in 3rd place, who may have just seen her chances of a British record slipping on that lap. These 2, though, continue to push on. And it's Gidai who's taken it to the world champion, but Helen Obiri is always so strong. Hanging in there, down the back straight. This is going to be quick, Tim. The 2 of them, stride for stride. Look at Obiri. Gidai looked up at the screen and lets the Kenyan through on the inside. A mistake there from the youngster. Obiri's away and gone. Helen Obiri, 1,500 meters in her earlier career. Then the 5,000. She can run 10,000 as well. She's run under 13:20 plenty of times. And whatever pace that we're heading for here, the world record is 14:11. That's going to go. So that green light is just going to be passed by Obiri, but it certainly wasn't a world record pace that was on. But that doesn't matter. It's a superb run from Helen Obiri, the world champion, wins in 14:22. Gidai takes a look over her shoulder to check it's okay and comes through for a strong 2nd place. And a very tired Laura Waitman coming through for 3rd, and a new personal best Very, very tired indeed, but she committed herself. And Jess Hull coming through behind her, the Australian, just pipping Shannon Robury. That'll be a decent time for her as well. Well, the question marks about Sifan Hassan. She was not interested from the beginning. She obviously had a bit of a problem. Pulled out with about 1 kilometre to go. Laura Waitman give it her all. She knew, she picked it up in the middle, and then when Hassan dropped out, she then had to watch these two pull away. Well, actually not Chibet. Obiri and Gidai pull away. Great race, great performance from Obiri. The world champion, still the best in the world at 5,000 metres.
Well, tells the story, doesn't it? That sight of Laura Waitman flat out on the track, gave her all, and yet Obiri and Gidai steaming away from her over the last couple of laps at two very quick times. But Obiri, irresistible in that last 200. And to go through on the inside, that is kind of a cardinal sin from Gidai to let her through like that. But that accentuated punching of the arms from Obiri, that little glance over her left shoulder to see what damage she'd done. And the gap opened very quickly. That's 15 metres, and it opened up in the space of 100. A spectacular change of gear, really, and she's still going away. So few athletes possess that ability. It's 20 metres now, 25, maybe more by the time she gets to the line. Brilliant closing pace. And I suppose the question begs, Steve, with a winning time of 14:22.12, how much quicker could she have gone?
Yeah, it did drop in the middle, didn't it? You know, and there was that uncertainty. I don't think even Helen would have expected that Laura Waitman was taking the middle part of the race, because they came here thinking it was going to be very, very fast. But how strong is Helen Obiri? Fantastic from her. Meeting record as well.
So Braz then, third attempt at 5:60, and the Olympic champion in a little bit of trouble. He only cleared his opening height, 5:50, at the first time of asking. Remember, we saw Duplantis pop over this at first time, but this is the third time for the Brazilian. No, just didn't have the height or the momentum, did he? Doesn't look impressive, I have to say, and he's frustrated himself there with that. His season's best, 5:50. He did equal that with that second time clearance. That was in Trieste 10 days or so ago in Italy. So let's look at it again. Well, it's maybe his high point was over the bar, but it was about 20 or 30 centimeters in front of the bar, and that is what makes this discipline so technically demanding. Out he goes, I'm afraid. And Mondo Duplantis, well, he's had a couple of failures too. So he in a spot of bother.
Funny, isn't it? You know, we've got some great champions already producing great results, but we've also seen Grant Holloway go get beaten, 4th place in the 110 hurdles, the world champion. And Duplantis in a bit of bother. So Ben Broders already cleared earlier on. 5:60, good clearance. Oh, that's nice. Wow. Looks up. Well, that's certainly going to give him a lot of confidence, and I think he's trying not to smile. He's probably thinking, hang on a minute, I think I might be leading this now.
Well, we're playing a little bit of catch-up here in these vaults. Duplantis, of course, went over 5:60 first time. These are first-time efforts at 5:70. But yeah, Broders looking rather tasty. The only difference is that his lifetime best is 5:76. Duplantis, well, he operates on a different level altogether usually. Here he goes, his first attempt at 5:70. He's seen the Dutchman go clear. Oh, hoo, hoo. It's less than the perfection we're used to, Steve.
Yeah, it's a tricky old year, isn't it? You know, remember the indoors, a stunning world record, and so looking forward to the summer, what he could do, all sorts of talk about how high he would go. And it's been, pardon the pun, but a little bit up and down for Duplantis. So first-time failure. So to tidy up the result of that women's 5,000, world-leading time for Obiri, really, really strong performance. Gidai with the season's best. Laura Waitman of Great Britain, second on the GB all-time list. A national record for Jessica Hull for Australia. Great times all the way down there. One or two of the athletes being carried off the track, though, but hopefully everybody's okay.
So back to this ladies' triple jump. So Patricia Mamona. Opening round. Well, close to 14 meters if we're to believe those lines superimposed on the sand. The Portuguese, very experienced, and she is a 14.65 jumper. She's the European champion from 2016. Finished 6th in Rio. She's accrued so much knowledge. Nice rhythm there. And Mamona. I'm not sure she crossed the 14-meter line with that effort. Don't think she's too impressed with it. No, 13.95.
Next event on the track, 400 hurdles.
And a small field it is here, just 5 athletes, but there is one particularly special name in there. That Norwegian flag beside him. We'll come to him in a second. Konstantin Price of Germany, the world #1 this year on paper. Nominally 49.49 in Lucerne. Back on the 3rd of July. Won the German title just on Sunday in 49.5. He's in pretty solid shape with that black headband. This is his 7th 400 hurdles of the year. Here's the main man, Karsten Warholm of Norway. 2 times world champion, the European champion, of course, as well from Berlin 2018. He holds the European record. He is, in fact, the 2nd fastest man in history. He's still just 24, that former decathlete, and this is his first 400 hurdles of the year. Ludwig Vaillant of France, European under-23 championship bronze medalist a couple of years back. He's broken 49 seconds 7 times the last couple of years, though. He's good. This man is very good. Running for Turkey, Yasmani Coppello goes in lane 5, the World Championship silver medalist in London 2017, the former Cuban. And there Rasmus Maggi. I saw him run earlier in the week in Turkey when he finished 2nd, just a click outside 50 seconds. But he is a useful performer. 48.4, his lifetime best, Maggi of Estonia. And in fact, a 6th placer at the Rio Games. Coached by his mum and dad, and a big lad, 6'2". He's got the inside lane in this race, but that happens to be lane 4, so it's a pretty good lane for Maggi there to right of picture. The gold and silver medalists from the European Championships in 2018 are here. And the meeting record, well, I think it's vulnerable. It belongs to one Kevin Young back in 1992. Can you believe that, 28 years ago? But it's 47.6, and we think that Warholm, in 6 of his 7 races last year, 6 of his 7 finals, went quicker than that meeting record. It's within his sights. Maggi of Estonia in 4, Coppello of Turkey in 5, Vaillant of France in 6. Warholm, the world champion, 2nd for quickest ever at this discipline, 46.92, goes in lane 7. And on the outside, Konstantin Price of Germany. Warholm there, 2nd from top, will go off quickly. It's the way he runs, he can't stop himself. Already past Price after about 70 meters. Leading at the moment. Last season, race after race, a season in which, remember, he was unbeaten, the Norwegian. He was setting records, first of all national records, then European records. Stadium records galore, and he's away, and this is almost an exhibition. The yellow vest of Coppello going well in lane 5. He's a couple of lanes inside Warholm, so the stagger unwinding in his favor in those dark glasses. But Warholm 3 or 4 strides ahead of him into the straight now. Watch the clock. This is undoubtedly going to be another quick time from Warholm, because those are good athletes behind him. Almost seems to get quicker as the line approaches to Warholm. Look at him drive for the tape. 47.10. The meeting record has indeed gone. 28 years ago, Kevin Young, the world record holder still, ran 47.6 here in Stade Louis II. Well, it's just been improved by a full half second. And he was running against himself there, running against the clock, in effect, Warholm. But Steve, his strength off that final barrier, 47.1. When you think about it, he's only 3 or 4 strides off the world record there. There's so much more to come.
Yeah, he's in, the form of his life. We saw from that world record over 300 hurdles, and then, that's where you see how he puts his race together. But then he can come home so strongly. You saw You were saying in commentary, Tim, about how he's leaving the others behind. Capello committed and then paid the price, even though he came second in 49.04. But when you're watching them, there's Capello in the orange. Down the back straight, he's only 2 strides behind. Watch how they rise over the hurdles, almost level, in fact, until they get to hurdle 6. Then round the top bend, this is what happens. Capello is still only 2 strides behind, but watch this. These last 2 flights, he just gets stronger. He's not slowing down, that's the difference. And I saw him had a little look at the clock as he was coming in. He knew it was fast, and those tenths just slip away, slip by. But you're right, Tim. One day, it's going to come for him. Absolutely sure of that.
The power he uses off that final barrier when most people are really struggling. You see some athletes, most athletes, climbing over the final barrier and just trying to survive that 50 meters or so from the final barrier. But Warholm, well, he's just oozing power. We understand he's an absolute animal in training. As a former decathlete, I suppose he's used to training for 10 disciplines. His coach works him incredibly hard, but he just soaks it up. And that strength showed there all too clearly, didn't it? 47.10, the fastest time in the world this year by a huge margin. Capello in second.
Well then, not often you say this. Third attempt, Mondo Duplantis, 570. Needs, obviously, to get it. That's better. Disappears into the floodlights and comes down victorious. Duplantis clear, thankfully for him and for everybody watching. They don't want this pole vault to end prematurely. Just a little bit of a wake-up call for him. Well clear, though. So Duplantis stays involved, and a couple of other men clear at this height. So we go on.
So Gabi Petrova, second effort in this women's triple jump, 14.06 at the moment. The only athlete to broach 14 meters in the first round. She has got so much more in the tank. Her lifetime best, 14.66 from 5 years ago, but 14.38 already this year. That's 3 nice efforts, and she seemed to hang there forever, didn't she, on that final phase? And that was certainly over 14 meters. Accentuated knee lift. First phase massive, and a brilliant final phase into the sand too. Plenty of power there. She's incredibly well muscled, as so often these Bulgarians are. And that brings her down. Petrova at 14 meters 18 extends her lead. Mamona and world champion Rojas net to go. By the way, Rojas no jumped in the first round, so a healthy lead for the Bulgarian at the moment. Well, the women's 100 meters now, and Marie-Josée Talou, World Championship silver medalist in 100 and 200 in London 2017, and then a bronze medal last year in Doha in the 100 meters. There's the lineup. Hobbs, well, she's a sub-11 second athlete, but that was 3 years ago, and she's still only 24. Let's go through this lineup. Daryl Neita of Great Britain, semi-finalist last year in Doha. Has had just one race. She won in Sollentuna in Sweden on Monday, 11.65, but into a pretty strong headwind, so she'll enjoy these conditions here tonight. She goes in 1. Gina Luckenkemper goes in 2, the German. Won the 100 in Espoo, Finland last Wednesday in a modest 11.37. Ajla Del Ponte of Switzerland also set a 200 personal best on the 18th of July in Arnhem. She's in very good form. There is Talou in lane 4. It's her first race of 2020. Frustratingly, she finished 4th in Rio in both the 100 and 200, Talou. Alea Hobbs, there she is. I mentioned her, 6th in the US Championships 100 last year. Hasn't been able to find that magic touch that she showed so amply back in 2017. Anna Bongiorni of Italy goes in 6, unbeaten so far this year. Rebecca Haase of Germany, 2nd in the German Championships just on Sunday over 100 meters. And Maja Mihalinic, 9-time Slovenian champion, goes on the outside in lane 8. It's her 4th 100 of 2020, Mihalinic, but she went out in the heats in Doha last year. Talu, a different class so far as their careers compare. The meeting record, by the way, a mighty impressive 10.72 by the figure of Marion Jones. That was back in 1998. But the world best, probably out of the reach of this field. Talu would have to run almost a personal best to get it, is 10.87 by Shelly-Ann Fraser-Price. That was in Kingston, Jamaica, just 5 or 6 days ago. So Nita for Britain in 1, Luckenkämper Germany 2, Del Ponte Switzerland 3, Talu goes in 4, then Hobbs, Bongiorni, Haase and Minhalinec. What's Talu in 4? Good start, very good start from Talu. Came up with a gun. Del Ponte also going really well in lane 3. She's giving Talu a race here, and she's going to steam away with this one and wins by a metre from the athlete in lane 5, Alea Hobbs. What on earth happened to Marie-Josée Talu there? Her first race of the season, admittedly, but the World Championship bronze medalist was completely out of sorts and has lost 2 athletes there that, well, 19 times out of 20 normally she would put away without any trouble. One of the big shocks of the night, the big shock of the night so far, and perhaps the biggest shock by the end of the night, Steve. Del Ponte of Switzerland, who has set a personal best just recently of 11.08. That was back on the 11th of July. Taking that field, and by some margin, she cannot believe it.
Well, it's further evidence of the great work being done in Papendal by the former Swiss sprints coach, who now coaches for the Dutch setup. He took Leah Sprunger up there, he took Del Ponte. She actually rooms with Leah Sprunger then. They're all running very well. You're going to see Femke Bol in the Dutch athlete in the 400-meter flat, who's already leading the world at 400-meter hurdles. So that group are all running with confidence. They've run a few races, and that's come to light here. You said Talu, first one of the year. Difficult. It's hard to do that. You come up against a young athlete in the top form of her life, full of confidence, taking her opportunity on a big night like this, getting some big scalps. Nice action as well here, bouncing off the track, looking very, very strong indeed. So you're right, a big shock there for Del Ponte. Not super fast, I mean, but it just shows the consistent level that she's reached now. And Talu just struggling in the latter stages.
Well, a very marginal following wind. They were credited with their 11.16 for Del Ponte. Confirming that win for the Swiss, though, a big shot in the 100 for women. 11.16 to Hobbs and Luckenkämper, with Talu down in 4th.
So the bar's moved up to 5.80 in the men's pole vault after a bit of a scare at 5.74. Duplantis. 3 men cleared that height. First attempt, and this time normal service resumed for Armando Duplantis, and that's just looks a little bit more rhythmic than 15 minutes ago. And when you think about how high he normally vaults, can vault, it's just beautiful clearance there. That for him, he just sometimes thinks he does need that little bit of a reminder. And the 570 certainly gave that to him. So 580, first time clearance. That might be just a bridge too far for the others, we'll see.
So Levchenko then. 192 first attempt coming up. Silver medalist in London 2017 when she was just 19 years old. And that's no trouble at all for her, is it? So 4th jump, though, came in very early. 180, skims that one, but it stays up. First time clearances all the way at 180, 184, 188, and 192 for Levchenko. And all these jumps by her are going to show season's best because it's her first competition of the year, but she's going well.
So this is Mahuchik. What a year she had last year. Continued it into the indoor season, combining a junior career with this burgeoning senior career. What a talent. Ukrainian high jumping on the crest of a wave, and she the youngest of their contingent. Nicely done. I expect that Levchenko, Mahuchik may well have this their own way after Trina Johnson-Thompson took an early exit. First time clearance Actually, season's best for outdoors for Mahuchik, 192.
So Yulimar Rojas of Venezuela, twice world champion. No jump in the first round. Playing catch-up, but early stages. There are 6 rounds, of course, for the 7 athletes in this field. Now, getting the crowd behind her. A Finnish crowd, of course, with problems outside this stadium growing all the time that we're all too familiar with. That perhaps understandable. Just 24 years old, 2 times world indoor champion, twice world outdoor champion. She's building some record. Oh, her technique leaves so much to demand. Watch this, good speed. First phase fine, and then almost just a casual step, like a stride in running. She doesn't really bound in the middle phase, does she? But she's so massive that she gets away with it. And Rojas there, just over 14 meters, 14.04. Moves up into 3rd place, but on that sort of form, she's going to struggle to win this one.
So back on the track on the far side, the men lining up for the 1500 meters. So often a big highlight of the Monaco meeting. So many of the world's best times ever have been produced in this stadium. And some of the best around at the moment are here tonight. Look at Kajelcha there, but coming down, dropping down to the 1500 meters. Be really interesting to see how he can go. Former world indoor champion, well, actually reigning world indoor champion after the cancellation this year at 3,000 meters, and silver medalist outdoor over 10,000 meters. What a range he possesses. Charlie Grice of Great Britain hoping to go well after superb times last year. And then the Ingebrigtsens there, young Jakob. Well, what do you say about him? 3:30, still a teenager, 19, recently ran a European best record for 2,000 meters in the, I'm trying to remember, is it the Inspiration or the, one of those games anyway, it was in Oslo. I'm looking at Tim, my brain. Timothy Chariot though. The world champion, and he took on, his team took on the Ingebrigtsens, didn't they, in that virtual event almost over 2,000 meters. It was a horrible night in Nairobi. Even Seb Coe couldn't have done a job there. There it was the Ingebrigtsens who came out victorious with a quicker time on the night. All that behind them now racing for real over 1,500 meters. So Timothy Chariot, the world champion, against Jakob Ingebrigtsen, this prodigious Norwegian talent. Well, Tim and I were discussing the pace that they've been asked to run, and it is very, very quick. They want 54 and bits for the first lap, and then continue to 150 through 800 meters. Chariot says he likes to go out hard, and he has done here. There's that action of his, that characteristic forward lean, and he's already got a big gap. The Ingebrigtsens have said, no, we're not going to go out that hard. You go out, if you're fit enough at this stage of the year, fine. And Chariot's brought his 2 pacemakers to take it out. Jakob and Philip leading the rest of the pack, with Jake Whiteman, Charlie Grice, Craig Engels lining up, and they're already running pretty quick as well. They're with the lights, the others are ahead of them, Tim.
Well, I mean, the way he's set out, you'd think he's attacking the world record here, Chariot. Look at that gap, 15, 17 meters, back to Jakob Ingebrigtsen with his brother Philip in effectively 5th place, but 2nd place at that column at the top of picture. Very, very quick indeed from Chariot, and I don't know who's going to maintain this.
52.5?
That's insane.
Have you ever seen the first lap of a sensible, well, what is a sensible race?
That's what comes to mind.
52? My word. Well, they're going to slow down. They already have. And Timothy Chariot's just wasted a bit of energy. He's good enough to suck that up, though. And what will happen with the rest of the pack? They are with a good pace, but the lights now have caught up with the leaders. Sign, the older of the 2 pacemakers, the youngster Kita, Looks as though he's chopping at his heels, but the gap closing now. Jakob dragging the rest of the field back to the world champion as they approach 800 metres. I think, Tim, they're not going to be far off 60 seconds, the leaders, for this second lap of theirs.
That was poor pacemaking, Steve. I mean, he's going to have to pay for that. Look at that second lap, 58.65 after a high 52s. That is crazy. I know that you need about a 2-second differential generally in the opening lap, and a lot of people say bank the seconds on that first lap, but not down in the 52s. 54.5 would have been very quick indeed. And they've closed up. Look at that gap, 5 metres. It was 20 metres a minute and a half ago.
And that gap, as you said, is just a few metres now. The two Ingebrigtsen brothers, joined by Jake Whiteman of Great Britain, who's in very good form himself. His first big race at 1,500 metres has clocked a couple of good 800 times, and the world champion is going to be left on his own now as he takes the bell with only a 4-metre lead. The 19-year-old Norwegian closing with every stride. Chariot looking a little bit vulnerable here.
He is indeed, yes. The Ingebrigtsens have run a far more sensible pace. Jake Whiteman of Great Britain to the right of picture has just hung onto their coattails, and it'll be a real test of Chariot's strength here, his will, as they have 250 to go with that trio hunting him down.
The world champion leading ahead of Jakob, European gold medalist, and Philip Ingebrigtsen as well. And look at Whiteman of Great Britain. What a big move from him. He's still got something left. He just decides to check in behind Jakob. And Chariot got to find something here. He's under pressure, real pressure. The world champion finding a little bit extra, kicks away again. Jakob Ingebrigtsen is still there. It's a metre, it's not shortening. The world champion's going to hang on. Will it be under 3:30? It's well under. And Ingebrigtsen will be rewarded with an incredibly fast time. So will Jake Whiteman of Great Britain. That will shove him, if not, it certainly won't be a national record. Mo Farah took that here a few years ago, but the young Jakob Ingebrigtsen and Whiteman really gave this man a race that he'll not forget. Oh, it's a world-leading 3:28.45, Tim, but when he looks at the splits, he's won in a super fast time. When he looks at the splits, he'll kind of go, wow. And look at that, Jake Whiteman. Well, I can tell he's just moved to second on the British all-time list.
Ahead of you.
And usurped you-know-who.
Oh, that's got to hurt. 3:29.47 for Jake Whiteman. That's not a personal best. That is superhuman from Jake Whiteman. Brilliant stuff in third place. And that acceleration Jake put in with 200 to run. But the pacing, I think, for that trio behind Chariot, Steve, was absolutely perfect. And you have to say credit to the Kenyan for managing to hold it together there, glancing around him, almost smiling, half smile, half grimace there over the last 50 or 60 metres, holding Jakob Ingebrigtsen at bay. I thought he'd be really tested in that final lap, and he was, but he passed the test.
He did, and he stood up and he was counted, absolutely. But goodness me, those two times, Ingebrigtsen and Whiteman behind him, even Philip Ingebrigtsen 3:30. But great running from Jakob Ingebrigtsen and Jake Whiteman. Second on the British all-time list, a new record, another one for Jakob Ingebrigtsen. There's Whiteman, he cannot believe how fast he's run. It's Monaco, folks.
Well, I know, that almost says it all, doesn't it? Mahuchik, first attempt at 1:95 now. Oh, beautiful jumping, and she knows it. Confidence building all the time. She came in at 184, got that first time, had a couple of pops at 188 before going clear, then 192 first time, now 195 first time, and she's in the driving seat. Brilliant stuff. More to come, surely, from Mahuchik. When you look at the confidence there of the 18-year-old, she did clear 2:04 last year for that silver medal in Doha.
So Duplantis, we said normal service resumed, and he's decided, okay, I've won the competition, 580, only want to go clear, let's get on with this. 6 meters. What's he got? He disappears into the lights, and the bar comes down with him. A shake of the head, not a good effort for his first attempt at 6 meters for Duplantis. Must be difficult, I think, to get his motivation right here. No Sam Kendricks in the field, late withdrawal, and a little bit scruffy from Duplantis earlier on. Just not quite getting the penetration there to get over the bar. So, competition 1. Ben Broders, with his first-time clearance at 570, will be rewarded with second place. And Obiena, the only other man clear at 570, but 2 more attempts at 6 meters for Duplantis, we hope.
So, Levchenko in a spot of trouble. Now, we saw Mahuchik go clear at 195 first time, but her compatriot here struggling at that height. Third and final attempt. Silver medalist in London, 2017. Oh, yes. And the determination was there, wasn't there? Just a little bit more oomph to that one. Look at the acceleration and the gritted teeth. Final stride, beautiful jump, gives a little clip, but that was a nice clearance. There is more to come, no doubt about it. And she too is a 2 meter plus jump at 2:02 last year.
Well, the crowd here have been thrilled with some unbelievable performances already. 1 or 2 shocks as well, but plenty more to come.
Well, will we get a shock in this one? The women's 400 meters. The meeting record, 48.97 by Shawnee Miller-Weibo a couple of years back. The world best is only 50.5. That's vulnerable. There's Amandine Brossier of France. Her first race outdoors this year. Lifetime best of 51.7 from last season. The World University Games bronze medalist. She has got to be so nervous, but channel it. Use that adrenaline. She could produce something special. Lada Vondrova of the Czech Republic. It's her 7th 400 outdoors this year. What a difference that can make. Second in the Czech Championships on Sunday to Malikova's national under-20 record. In lane 6, Femke Bol of the Netherlands. The world number 2 this year with 51.13. She's very young, big talent, the Dutch. That's Sveti Ercetic. Talk about big talent. The pole goes in lane 5. She's the reigning European champion. Indeed, she took a brace of golds in Berlin 2018. She got a gold from the relay as well. But it's her first outdoor race of 2020. Wadeline Jonathas of the USA, 49.60 in Qatar last year. She was 4th at those World Championships, the American. Her first outdoor race of 2020. Inside her in lane 3, Lina Irby of the USA. Her best 7 times. We're all in 2018. Couldn't find that form last year. There's Corinna Schwab of Germany. 6 400s for her this year. Most recently, she won the German title on Sunday in a personal best. And Anita Horvat of Slovenia goes in lane 1. 7 times their champion. She just squeezed under 53 seconds 1 time this year. That was 52.98 in Trieste 10 or 12 days ago. But she's a 51.2 performer. Nobody likes lane 1, though. So, Horvat of Slovenia in 1, Schwab of Germany 2. We saw that Irby in lane 3 for the USA. Her compatriot Wadeline Jonathas goes in 4. Sveti Ercetic, very smart racer, always produces good runs. Very consistent too. Goes in 5 for Poland. And Femke Bol of the Netherlands in 6. Watch her, she's in good form, 51.13, that personal best a couple of weeks back. In lane 7, Lada Vondrova of the Czech Republic. And in 8, nearest the camera, Amandine Brossier of France. Long hold there, a couple of athletes very slow to rise to the set position, but Jonathas has gone up pretty fast in the centre there in lane 4. She's already gone past Sveti Ercetic. Well, that'll wake up the pole. Goodness me, she was passed after about 100 metres, the European champion, and going past her as well in lane 3 there to write a picture is Lina Irby of the USA. The Americans at the moment going well. Also looking strong is Ball out in lane 6. But the Americans in first and second at the moment, there's no doubt about that. The stagger unwinding in favour of Irby there. Second to left at the moment, driving hard from 150 out as she eases past Jonathas into the lead. Sveti Ercetic has got a lot of running to come just yet, maybe a lot of training in those legs. She's not having a great run, but this is Irby, Lina Irby, the 21-year-old from the USA in lane 3. Watch the clock, solid run, winning by 4 metres there, 50.50. Well, if that's confirmed, it is a world best for this year by 2/100ths of a second, and probably the biggest win of her young life. She has a World Junior gold medal from the long relay back in 2016. But after a difficult year in 2019, when she only ran 51.1, having broken 50 seconds the previous year, she's found her form again. And Lina Irby, absolutely delighted that one, Steve, I think, as well as absolutely exhausted.
Yeah, I think a really well put together race. You saw she didn't go too hard. She obviously had her compatriot to work off through that first 200 meters, but this is where she takes control of the race, not by doing anything startling, just keeps the pressure on, comes into the home straight with the momentum, and then just keeps going away. Nice and strong. A little bit rocking there at the end, but that's to be expected. But yeah, yes, I thought with a really well judged race and rewarded with a very fast time as well. I'm sure she was thinking, you can see the clock as you're coming down the home straight, I'm sure she was thinking maybe some 50 here. Not quite. I'm sure that will come, but as you said, a world lead. And Jonathan's just hanging on for second place. Femke Bol coming through for third, but a lot of good young talent. And USA always seems to have an abundance of it, of course, in the 400 meters. Here's another one.
Yeah, just a production line from that American collegiate system, which is so powerful in many sports, but particularly track and field athletics, where athletes between 18 and 22 are put through a fabulous training system. And Lina Irby wins in 50.50, fastest time in the world this year from her compatriot Jonathan Bol, a good third, 51.57 from lane 6.
So this is the second attempt at 6 meters for Mundo Duplantis. First one, not one of his best. See how we go here. No. I mean, everybody loves watching him. He's such a talent, but he's also very demonstrative in terms of his own performance. Not the pole vaulters are, but he's now got such high standards of himself. He's set them and just needs to make an adjustment there. If anything, it seemed to be slightly better than the previous attempt, but you can see he's nowhere near getting himself close in terms of his high point over the bar. So can he make that adjustment? One attempt left. Fair bit of crowd on that top bend, enjoying it. Some of the extra crowd noise you can hear. We mentioned earlier on that this has been added to many sports events as we have this evening.
Yulia Levchenko then. One failure at 198 so far. She lies in second place. Everybody else in this competition, by the way, has gone. Mahuchik, her compatriot, leads at the moment. That's a lovely clearance. Yeah, and a sigh of relief there. She didn't want to put herself through the pressure and stress of another third attempt. Remember, she cleared the previous height, 195, third time. She'd cleared all previous heights first time, but there, second time clearance of 198. And we have a little Ukrainian dust-up on our hands as Levchenko is up against Mahuchik. So 12.5 laps of the track then for these 16 men in the 5,000 meters. And it's a strong field, and there has been talk of a world record attempt in this. When I was working earlier on and breaking down the world record from 2004 of Kenenisa Bekele, I thought, nah, nobody's going to do that, but who knows? Jimmy Gressier, well, he's best known perhaps for some of his antics as a cross-country runner. Twice a European junior champion, and he celebrated and then fell flat in his face a couple of years back at a very muddy circuit. And Kripa, he's a well-known athlete too, Yamanebran Kripa. European Championship bronze medalist over 10,000 metres. He's certainly not lacking in strength, the 23-year-old. Holds the Italian record. I mean, you think they've had people like Alberto Cova. That is saying something. And there is the man, Joshua Cheptegei, the reigning world champion at 10,000 metres. Fabulously strong. Lifted that title in Doha last October, a few months after the world cross-country title on that incredibly demanding circuit in Aarhus in Denmark back in the March. World record for 5,000 on the roads was set here by Cheptegei back on the 16th of February, so he's got fond memories of Monaco, the Ugandan. He's built nicely this last few years. He was 8th in the Rio 5,000, the Olympic Games, and then 6th in the 10,000 the year. But that only race he's had this year was that 5,000 world record on the roads, 12:51. Watch out too for Julian Wunders of Switzerland here, third away from the camera. Holds the European record at half marathon. So, let me break it down for you. The world record of 12.5 laps is equivalent to 3 times a mile in 4:02, and then another half lap at a pretty healthy clip. That in itself sounds astonishing. They need to run 60.5 per lap, and I'm not sure anybody here is going to do it. Whether or not Cheptegei's in the mood, we shall see. 3 pacemakers, though, and Roy Hoornweg of the Netherlands, the 31-year-old, is going to take them out early on. But they do need 60.5 per lap. It's incredibly quick, and that's why already, after what, a couple hundred meters, almost down to single file. Interesting to see, Steve, how Henrik Ingebrigtsen goes. He's back in, what, about 9th place at the moment, mustachioed and usually wearing sunglasses. He's seen great runs from his brothers in the 1,500 already. But as they come to one lap, let's see the split here through 400 meters. There, and it's around 60 flat. Goodness me, it's quick.
Yeah, Tim, the clock knock's stopping there, so you're right, I think around 60, which is what was asked for. So Cheptegei has picked up the gauntlet, and he's got a couple of his teammates for company as well. Well, actually not his teammates, but training partners, and he's got Kameli is just at the back of that group, and those 3 with the 3 pacemakers already well ahead of the rest. You mentioned Krippes leading them, Ingebrigtsen in that group as well. So from 200, the first that they've just clocked, that was a 60.7, Tim, to the finish line, if you like. So they're on it, and the lights are there to help them. You'll see them on the inside of the track. They're just ahead of the green lights. We can see it down the back straight. You can't quite see it on that shot there. You can maybe just see the green lights there. They are right up there with the athletes. So that's set at this even pace world record. And I think, Tim, you and I keep making the point to people, lights are great at even pace, but that's not how races are generally run, are they?
No, it's not. No, you need to be a little bit outside. Well, generally speaking, you need to be a little bit outside the world record tempo with a lap and a half to go, and then he wind it up in that final lap and make up a big deficit to close in on the world record time. They went through 800 there, by the way, in about 2:01.5, and they're coming up towards the 1 kilometer now in front of us. And Kisa now hits the front. A Ugandan 24-year-old, he's a 13:10 man himself, goes through 1 kilometer, 2:31.87, so that is good. That is promising. That is near as, damn it, on world record tempo. Those 5 right away from the rest now. Cheptegei needs to be carried along here by those pacers as long as he possibly can. He's in the 5, in the middle of that quintet. Looking very relaxed indeed, but Kisa here and Ramsden need to go as far as they can.
Third attempt for Duplantis at 6 meters. First 2 didn't get all that close. What can he do here? Oh, he's done it! Well, there you go. Duplantis doing what he does best. 6 meters at the 3rd attempt. Didn't mess around with anything from 580 upwards, just went straight to 6 meters, took 2 attempts, got his adjustments made. Completely focused on this one. And a superb clearance from the Swede. Oh, look at that. Look how high he was over the bar. Yes, you're always in danger of clipping it on the way down, but will he go higher now? Will he attempt to go higher? Beautiful clearance from Duplantis. That's more like it. Kisses to everybody, why not? No masks required when you're blowing them.
What was that, Steve?
I laughed.
Can't tell, you still got your mask on. Been meaning to tell you. Well, back to this high jump, and Mahuchik, second attempt at 198. Cleared the previous height. First time and goes clear. No trouble. That's quite some battle going on out there, Steve.
Yeah, really good. You mentioned the two of them, the two Ukrainians head-to-head here, and you know, it must be, you know, Levchenko probably thought, yeah, I'm going to go on and pick up the medals, and then this youngster comes along, so the two of them battling for supremacy in their own country, never mind anything else. So Mahuchik still in there.
Approaching 2 kilometers. This is the 2 kilometer point, and the pacemaker there goes through. The pacemaker going through 2K there, actually. 2K, a 2:31.9. Now, let me tell you that they are way ahead of the split set by Bekele when he set his world record. His first kilometer was 2:33.2. They went through here today, 2:31.9. They've just run another 2:31.9. It is brilliant pacemaking, and Ramsden now at the front pushing on through this 6th lap. They're building a bit of a cushion here and still looking relaxed in those white socks, which is quite rare for distance runners these days on the track. Is the man attacking a really quick time, Joshua Cheptegei. His personal best is 12:57. Let me tell you that he needs to improve that by almost exactly 20 seconds to get near that world record of Kenenisa Bekele. Bekele went through 3,000 in 7:37. He was alone by that point. So the pacemakers here actually lasting just about as long, maybe a little bit longer, as the pacemakers did for Bekele and Hengelo back in May 2004. He's doing a great job here, Ramsden. What are these laps coming out at?
Yeah, he's done there, Tim, and Cheptegei has got company with Kimeli, but he's got to do the work here if he is to keep this on track. I don't know why he's looking at his watch, Tim, because the lights, the green lights, which are just moving away from him, should tell him. If he knew that, if he knows that, he looks comfortable, he looks in his face, he looks comfortable. But as you rightly said, Tim, that this is the hard laps, the hard bit of the race. This is where he's got to try and keep the pressure on.
He's going to have to get to 3,000 if he wants to maintain average pace of 60.9 there. That's good in 7:34. But this is looking very promising, I have to say. That world record, 16 years old now, and a little bit more of Kenenisa Bekele's. Cheptegei begins to wind it up. He's really testing Kimeli here mid-race. Fabulous split, 60, 61, 60, 60, 61, 60.9 for that last lap.
Rojas, world record holder indoors, not that far off it outdoors, but nowhere near that so far tonight. And the Venezuelan trying to muster up a performance at least to win this. 14-18, still the lead for Petrova. Second round. This now, round 4. Trying to get herself motivated. Bit of an entertainer as well as Rojas. Trying to generate that smooth pace. That looked a little better. A little bit more rhythm there. There you go. Still a shake of the head. It's not what she would expect. It might be good enough to take the lead, though. That yellow line gives us a clue. Nice on the board. Not quite as rangy as she often does, or she has done. Well, you don't need to be a sign reader to see that she perhaps isn't too happy with herself there, but it's good enough to take the lead. 14:27 for Rojas in round 4. Season's best.
Girdle your loins, folks, because we could be seeing history unfold. He went through 3,000 in 7:35.1, and he's cut loose now, Joshua Cheptegei. He's inside the last mile. Just under 4 laps to run. Kimeli in second place, running incredibly strongly, about 30 meters down. But Joshua Cheptegei has it all. He has that speed on the track. He's a great 5,000 runner. He has that enormous strength of a 10,000 meter runner. He has that gutsiness of a cross-country champion. And he's still looking relaxed, isn't he? 2:31.9, 2:31.9, 2:31.4. I've got his last 4 kilometers, his last 3 kilometers at. And the world record is under severe threat here. It could be quaking in its boots. The next significant split, 10:07 rather, at 4K for Bekele. That was his split. Now the kick in the tail I have to warn you about is that Bekele ran his last 5 laps in almost exactly 5 minutes. astonishing closing pace from Kenenisa Bekele. He was just 21 when he set the world record back in 2004.
He doesn't have to go quite that fast, Tim. We're looking at 3:2-ish for those last 3 laps. So let's say he runs a 61 and a 61 and then can finish with a 59 point something. You're right, it's on. It's 100% on here. Those green lights, he's just moving imperceptibly away. You can't quite see it on that shot there. He's not looking at them, but we can see that that means he's inside world record pace. And we're assuming, Timmy looks so relaxed, you said that. There you see through that last kilometre, 2:30, phenomenal. There's Kimeli, long way back, but still running quick. He comes round this time, it'll be just 2 laps to go. He's not slowing down, he's maintaining, and he's girding his loins, and we should be, like you said, because this could be phenomenal.
You do that a lot, don't you, Steve?
I do, when I can.
Well, the world record beckons out in front. The rest of the field, half a lap and more behind as Joshua Cheptegei comes through now with 2 laps to run. 60.3. The previous lap was 60.1. This is unprecedented. I used the word Superman earlier on, perhaps a little bit early. This is superhuman running. Cheptegei has now built up a lead of what, about 80 meters over Kimeli. Back in second place, Nicholas Kimeli, who's a 12:57 performer, came 8th in the World Championships last year at the age of 20 in Doha. But he still looks so relaxed. A lap and a half to run. Goes through there in around 11:05. And he needs to cover his next 600 meters in about 92 seconds. And he's still glancing around. This is metronomic, machine-like running. Robotic running almost. He's so relaxed.
He looks great, Tim. He's coming up to the bell. I think he's going to absolutely break this apart. He must do. He must have something left here. He looks too good. He looks too relaxed. He's away from the lights. He takes the bell now. The world record is on.
11:35 at the bell there, a 59.9. He's covered his last 3 laps in almost exactly 3 minutes. He's matching stride for stride the closing pace of Kenenisa Bekele, but he set up this world record because he went out through the first half of the race and more, much quicker than the Ethiopian 16 years ago. Down the back straight, 250 meters to run, history in the making. Julian Wanders there with Switzerland, waving him on, is being lapped now, and hardly surprising. Great runners will be lapped by this man as he goes into the final 200 meters. Still looking strong, no panic, no sign of stress, not driving hard. He's got to hit the clock, hit the line in 12:37.35. Is he going to do it? Because he's tiring now. Down the home straight, surely it's going to be close. Watch the clock, 10 seconds to go. He's got about 50 meters to run, and he's still driving for the line. At last he grimaces and looks mortal. But there, 12:35.37. The world record has been broken by almost exactly 2 seconds. And he's still smiling. He's still in good shape. This fella, well, probably deserves the name Superman beside his own Joshua Cheptegei of Uganda, more than anybody in the history of distance running in the modern era. That was astonishing. I said before the race he needed to run 3 times a mile in 4:02 and then some change for that last half lap. Well, he's just run 3 times a mile in about 4:01. That is just hard to comprehend.
What a performance, Tim, and I love the way he did it. We've talked a lot about paces changing and picking up. That was almost an even-paced world record. His fastest lap, there was no big surge at the end, 59.64. Most of the other laps were within a second or so of that. 60.7, 60.6, 60.4, a couple of 61s in there. Just lap after lap after lap, and then he set himself up. He was tired at the end. He has every right to be tired. What a run, a world record on a night of nights here. And Cheptegei said he was going to do it, and he has. And you've got to really admire him for doing that. When people announce they're going to run fast and then come and do it, hats off to him.
12:51 for Kimeli, a massive personal best in second place. But that is the story of the night. Surely the story of this bizarre athletic summer of 2020. He went through 3,000 in 7:35, began to ease away from a brave Kimeli there. But Nicholas Kimeli of Kenya couldn't hold him back over those final laps. And coming home, as you said, Steve, 59.64, just adding together his last 4 laps. He ran them about 1 stride outside 4 minutes, and his last 5 laps, in fact, almost identical against the clock to those of Kenenisa Bekele, but he built up that big cushion early on, and that was the key to it. He was aggressive, didn't rely upon his closing speed. He ran metronomically, very even pace throughout. Fabulous stuff.
And the other thing I love about him, he remembered to stop his watch as he crossed the line, just in case something went wrong with electronic timing.
Oh, don't get me started on that. Marathon runners holding their hands up in front of their faces, they break the tape because they want to stop their own watch. Oh, yeah, you're entitled to look in pain but smile. It's a wonderful, rich pain that you can be proud of. 12:35.36. I didn't think I'd see that world record of Kenenisa Bekele broken for many a year yet.
Well, from one new world record to another fairly newish world record holder in the pole vault. He's put the bar up to 6 meters and 15, which would be an outdoor world record if he were to clear it. Duplantis, 6:15 now. Well, he's already done really well tonight, and maybe that was just an attempt to say, yeah, I had a go. It may well be it for this evening, though. 6 meters, the best we've seen. Will he have another couple of goes at 6:15? He's got a couple of minutes to make his mind up. This is Levchenko. 2 meters 1, 3rd attempt in the high jump. They were having to carry on while that great 5,000 meters was going on. Just her and her young teammate Mahuchik left in this women's high jump. Both of them took 2 attempts to go clear at 198. 3rd attempt now at 2 meters 1 for Levchenko.
Oh, she looked really determined on her previous effort, Steve. Oh, no. Not to be 2 meters beyond her on this occasion. This is summer of, when you look at major championships, very little consequence indeed. So many of these athletes already with one eye on Tokyo next year. And it is really almost like the closing act of a strange summer that we're seeing unfold over a very few weeks. But great contest from the 2 Ukrainians.
She'll come second on countback. I don't think anyone's really going to... It might be a quiz question. Who was second to Cheptegei on the night he broke the world record? You've got to say, I say broke it. Even a couple of seconds, Tim, at that level is really taking it apart. Doesn't sound a lot, but it is. Well,
exactly.
Take a breath if you can, because we're moving on to the men's 200 meters. On the far side, the 200-meter lineup from the outside in. This is Dennis Almas from Germany. And he's going to be feeling the heat of Noah Lyles breathing down his neck. And Noah, big supporter of the Black Lives Matter movement, showing his support. I watched a great documentary just recently about 1968 and the Olympic Games, and that salute you've just seen there. If you get the chance, watch it. Ramil Guliev, surprise world champion in 2017, the 30-year-old from Turkey's in 6th. Adam Jamili from Great Britain just missed out on a medal at the World Championships, as he did in Rio. And then the younger brother in lane 4 of Noah Lyles, Josephus, 22-year-old. The 2 brothers come here, been training well together. Lyles, Josephus has been hitting some personal bests as well, in good form. Mario Burke, 23-year-old from Barbados, bronze medalist at the World Junior Championships a couple of years ago. New personal best, 20.08 this year. Mohamedou Fall of France in lane 2. And on the inside, another Frenchman, Marvin René. Well, Noah Lyles was, if anybody was watching what happened in the race, effectively the Zurich race, the Inspiration Games, when he ran from the wrong mark and momentarily looked as though he'd broken the world record, ran under 19 seconds. But he said, I'm coming to Monaco to run fast, to show that I can run fast. The world best this year, incidentally, Kenneth Bednarek, incredible 19.80 just earlier this week, knocking Lyles off the top of the world list for 2020. So will he restore his position as the world #1 in terms of time, the world champion in lane 7? Men's 200 meters.
Set.
Very good start from Lyles. Guliev also gets away well. And also inside, Adam Jamili, the younger Lyles, has run a very, very good bend indeed, where it's Noah Lyles just leading this at the moment from his younger brother. And Noah Lyles continues to go away. Now it'll be about how quick he can run. He's got this one won easily. The clock stops at 19.76. That's the world lead. He grabs it back. That's the least he wanted here. Noah Lyles back on top of the world. The quickest time in 2020. And that was very, very comfortable, you have to say, from him. And a little bit of a joke with his younger brother, who also ran very well. 20.30 to take second place. And they're getting some good scalps there, including the former world champion Guliev and Adam Jamili. Not much they can do, is there, about Noah Lyles? Good start, solid bend, and then he comes into his own for me in the home straight. He's so smooth, that transition off the bend, and then it seems like he's in a different race.
Well, he is special, Steve. He is so strong. I mean, he's not only a great 100, 200 man. I saw him set a world record, or world best officially, for 300 meters indoors a couple of years ago. And then I remember being struck by his endurance, his ability to hold his pace through that final 100. And here he comes off the bend in the lead, but extends that lead, probably trebles it over the last 60 or 70. And actually it's deceptive, because I thought, wow, this has got to be 19.5 or something. He wins it by so much. His brother in second place, 20.30, but we shouldn't sniff or anything at a time of 19.76. This guy's short of racing, and if he had another campaign of races over this next month, he'd take big chunks off that, I'm sure.
Yeah, you're right. I think I watched a training video as well earlier on in the season, again at 300 meters. He's got such good strength. Stands him in good stead for the 200. So it's Lyles times 2, 1 and 2 in that 200 meters.
So Duplantis then. Now, 6:15, going for an improvement of the world outdoor record. He cleared 6 meters third time, passed at 6:05. He, of course, last man in for several heights now, can choose the height. And this third and final attempt at 6:15, that magical mark, Sergei Bubka's old world record indoors at this height. The world outdoor record is 6:14, but it's not to be, not just yet. Well, he's enjoyed himself tonight. It's been a bit of a roller coaster, hasn't it? He was really unhappy with his form earlier on in the evening. His own world record now, of course, 6:18. That was indoors in Glasgow back in February this year. But the consistency is fabulous in what he ends up with in competitions, even as he occasionally has a few little hiccups on the way to his eventual best height. 6 meters here tonight at the third time of asking. He wins by what, 4 clear heights from the rest of the competition. A crying shame that Sam Kendricks couldn't get some poles. They sort of do matter when you're a pole vaulter. Couldn't get some poles down here to Monaco. That is one of the most bizarre stories in terms of missing equipment I've ever heard, Steve. And you know, the pole vaulters are used to it, but having been here for 5 days and the poles still couldn't be got here from somewhere else in France? Weird.
Yes, I'm sure that story will be told. But the story of the competition tonight was another win for Duplantis, another 6-meter vault for the Swede, the world lead for him. Broders with a very good performance to come second on a night when others weren't here, but that didn't matter to them. This is Mahuchik. We've already seen Levchenko fail at the third attempt. Mahuchik won already on count back then. So can she go higher? Third attempt at 2 meters 1. Free go at this if you like. that was not far off. Very close indeed. Well, sadly, 198 as high as she can go. You can see how consistent she's becoming, though, and that is another good win for her, particularly over her teammates. So Levchenko having to settle for second place on countback to the 18-year-old Mahuchik, who takes this women's high jump.
Well, a couple of events left on the track. The women's 1,000 metres and the men's 3,000-metre steeplechase. But the stadium's still abuzz with that men's 5,000 metres world record. Confirmation of the win, and the 1-2 there for Mahuchik and her compatriot Levchenko in the women's high jump. That's Steve. By the way, I was just doing a little bit of my very simple maths here, and the last 3,000 for Joshua Cheptegei in that 5,000, 7:31. And his first 3,000 was 7:31. So think about that and how steady that was.
So 1,000 metres in each of that 5,000 metre race of around 2:30, 2:31. That's exactly what these women will be aiming for. Women's 1,000, anything in the low 2:30s would be phenomenal, and plenty of women capable of it here. Nakai, the surprise perhaps for many, the world champion at 800 metres. Faith Kipyegon, former world champion at 1,500 metres. This might be a little short for her. Some of the 8:15 specialists looking to go well, including Laura Muir, who has actually run quicker indoors at the 1,000 metres, broke Kelly Holmes' indoor record in Birmingham a couple of years back, and hasn't broken the outdoor record, so 3:32.55, but it could be her training partner, Gemma Ricci, who gets close to that as well. The two of them. I've got Shalane Arscan-Clark from Great Britain as pacemaker. I think you need to watch out as well for Ciara McGeehan, recently setting an Irish record at 800 metres, first Irish woman under 2 minutes for that distance, and has got good 1,500 metre strength as well. So watch out for McGeehan, Muir, Ricci, Kipyegon, Nakai. 2.5 laps of the track. The world record still, you see there, Mastakova, 2:28. They've asked for a fast pace, and Shalane Arscan-Clark, who's normally pretty steady, just having a little look round. Laura Muir slots in behind her teammate and training partner, Gemma Ricci, behind her. Nakai has gone a little bit closer, and then the others all well bunched up behind. Kipyegon wants to see a little bit of daylight and manages to do that. And Yondo also on the outside, so they're probably looking for around about 59 seconds there or thereabouts. You can see the green lights. Muir after a quick time, but I'm sure she'll also know that the threat, one of the big threats, is going to come from a training partner. Approaching 400 meters then. You've really got to try and do this even pace. You've got to go hard, 59.31. You've got to go out at hard 800 meter pace, but not overcommit. The 1,000 meters, it just comes back and bites you in that last 200 if you're not too careful.
Steve, I'm impressed by the aggression here of the two Britons. Kipyegon watching them very carefully, shadowing Laura Muir. She knows of the power of Muir all too well. Arscan-Clark's done a good job there as they come towards the bell. But we have a fabulous race in our hands with Kipyegon, the Olympic champion, well poised in third, now second.
McGeehan getting closer, looks for a little bit of room on the inside and not able to find it as Nakai just shuts the door, and that might be a bit of a problem for McGeehan. She's going to have to go wide and watch as the others move away. Look at Faith Kipyegon, Laura Muir there to be shot at, and Kipyegon is moving very nicely down the back straight, and it's Gemma Ricci the first to respond. McGeehan trying to get back to those three, but they're away. 200 meters left. This is where it hurts. Laura Muir digging deep as Ricci goes past her, trying to chase. Faith Kipyegon looking absolutely superb here and heading for a very quick time. Kipyegon 3-4 meters clear. Gemma Ricci ahead of Laura Muir. They'll have a battle down the home straight. McGeehan trying to get back to those two, but it's Kipyegon storming away here. Really good performance from her. McGeehan's finishing very quickly on the outside, but Kipyegon is going to win this. Just watch the clock. Muir's just got back ahead of Ricci. 2:29.16, and that will put her second on the all-time list. And I said to him that Kipyegon might find this a little bit short, and you can see how pleased she is with that performance, and goodness me, she should be. Meeting record, area record, all of that sort of thing. Diamond League record. Only one person has ever run quicker than that. That was Mastakova all those years ago, 1996. A national record for Muir, finally taking the record away from Kelly Holmes and beating her training partner, Gemma Ricci. Great performance from her as well. And McGeehan finishing so strongly for third.
Well, that was quite impressive, wasn't it? Goodness me. Not far outside the world record. They went through 800 in 1:59.1 and then worked hard over that final 200 meters. McGeehan looking fabulous there, setting a national record, of course, in 4th place. And that was after really a bit of a problem getting past Winnie Nanyondo with just under a lap to run. But Kipyegon, a long way ahead, so strong. And she is deceptively strong.
Whole bunch of personal bests, national records. It's not a distance that's run that often, but reasonably often enough, and it's a good gauge, particularly for the 800, 1500 specialists like Muir and Gemma Ricci. Ricci having got the better of her compatriot a couple of weeks ago in 800 meters, having to settle for 4th place, and Tim's absolutely right. McGeehan will probably look at that and go, I just got held up a little bit there, but nonetheless, brilliant performances, very fast times.
So Mamona then, 6th and final round for the Portuguese. Her best so far, 14:08, came in the 2nd round. Then she's had no jumps in round 3, 4, and 5. No, I don't think that's an improvement. She doesn't like it. Body language says it all. Massive jump from Rojas, remember, in round 4, 14:27. That has the lead by some 9 centimeters from Petrova's 2nd round, 14:18. She's a good technician, is Mamona. But really disappointed with that effort, I think. Angry with herself. And having to give the best to 2 athletes ahead of her, European champion from 4 years ago. There it is, 14:08, the best of her series.
Well, what a night. It's been incredible. Maybe the women's triple jump, not quite catching light. Yulimar Rojas, who on so many occasions has produced phenomenal performances. 14:27, the best tonight. We already had 3 no jumps. This is a final jump of the competition in the 6th round. Has the lead, season's best, but not as far as she would normally jump, and I'm sure not as far as she would like. So the tall Venezuelan, her last attempt. Now, that looked to me, she looks back, it was certainly further, but I think that's going to be a red flag. Yeah. Well, she's always full of smiles and a wave to the crowd. There, yeah, well over the board. It looked it, didn't it? So Rojas settling for the win, 14:27. There'll be plenty of night sweat. That wouldn't be good enough to win, but she's managed to scrape the win there. And the season's best. Petrova will take 2nd place. Mamona, 3rd. What's your preference in masks, Tim? I've got a Natty Blackwell mask.
Yeah, I've noticed that. You've been wearing it a bit unnecessarily, Steve, the last couple of days. This is worrying. Don't think you're supposed to sleep in it, Steve. Well, the light show has been talked about a lot over the last couple of days for this final track of it, the men's 3,000 meter steeplechase. And ironically, this was billed from a couple of weeks back as a world record attempt, but the reigning world champion Conseslus Kipruto having to pull out as he was COVID positive just last week. It was due to feature all 3 medalists from the World Championships in Doha. Now it has just the 2. Ethiopia's Lamecha Garma, Soufiane El Bakali, the bronze medalist in Doha. Finished 4th in Rio, 2nd in London 2017. El Bakali hasn't yet hit that magical gold medal winning form. Garma, well, just 19 years old. He ran 8:01 in Doha. to take that silver medal. Wintered well too. He ran 7:34 indoors in February for 3,000 meters, so has that critical quality for great steeplechasers of being world class on the flat as well. El Bakkali, very determined athlete, wears his heart on his sleeve, does the Moroccan. Other athletes to look out here: Fernando Caro of Spain, the European Championship silver medalist. Well, perhaps a little optimistically, we've been told that the pacemaker will go out in at 2:37 per kilometre. That's Alexis Fellou of France. But whether or not he'll drag anybody with him remains to be seen. Little glance over his shoulder there after 100 metres. And not too many takers at the moment. But Gurama and El Bakkali back in 5th place. Wale, it is in fact, in 2nd place. Watch him, he was 4th in the World Championships in 2019. Interesting that, Steve, just this last, 6 or 8 years, the Ethiopians have started to produce some very good steeplechasers, when, of course, the likes of Haile Gebrselassie and Bekele, who's been around for such a long time, set up this tradition of running on the flat. And I think a lot of Ethiopian youth coming through in running didn't regard the steeplechase as a really valid, strong event to be proud of. But of course it is, and they're getting it now, and it's been Kenyan's territory for many, many years. Now the Ethiopians are beginning to encroach on that territory.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Only Gema on the world's top 20 ever from Ethiopia, and he's down in, what, 16th, 17th place. So you're right, but I think, you know, I like what both Gema and Wale did last year, and, you know, they've now got the confidence to take the races on as well. You mentioned, of course, no Kipruto, but these two now leading this. El Bakkali sitting in the group. And I think you're right, a little bit of a dilemma for the guys here as to what pace to head out at in this race. So that's why the pacemaker looks a little bit adrift, and the other's not quite sure. Germa thinking, okay, let's try and get a little bit closer here, but you know, you don't want to overcommit. The steeplechase is the worst event to overcommit, isn't it?
Well, it is, because as you get more tired in a normal race, you can just slow down and jog home, but in a steeplechase you've got to raise your game to get over those barriers. They don't get lower as you get more fatigued. They were due to have the first 5, in fact, from the World Championships in this race, and Conseslus Kipruto just spoiling that sort of quintet, because Bedrani of France in here was 5th in Doha last summer. The 26-year-old, he's a 3:37 1500-meter runner. Fellou there having a little glance over his shoulder, but I don't think there have been too many takers for a really quick pace, and that's a bit of a shame. Kipruto, I think, would have really gone for it. He was speaking prior to that COVID-19 positive test a few days ago very, very aggressively and positively about attacking the world record. And there it is, 2:43.04 for the first kilometre, some 6 seconds out of what had been billed.
Still decent pace, though. It looks as though Bet has decided that he's going to try and get things moving, look nice and comfortable, and nobody else really pushing it on. So he's now trying to lock the field into the pacemaker, who might not go too much further, to be honest. So Bet, Wale behind him, Germa, then Bakkali, Bedrani, happy to let others do the work. But it is only 7.5 laps, and, you know, and Tim, you can't drag that time back. You know, you can't let it go 3, 4, 5 seconds. There's no way. But, as I said, you also got to be careful, even though it's only 7.5 laps, of overcommitting. But Bet looks as though he means business here.
Well, he does, yeah, and I mean, as the pacemaker dropped out, Fellou, after 3 laps, so there was a little injection of pace. It was almost as though they were being held back. Bet, though, looking up for it, isn't he? World Junior Championship silver medalist 2 years ago. He's still only 19. His times on the flat, well, nothing really that special. 7:47 for 3,000, although interestingly, he does have 3:54 road mile to his name. So he's strong and fast, is Leonard Bet. Best of 8:08, and that might be the sort of time we're heading for here. Remember, 1 kilometre run in 2:43, so more or less 8:09, 8:10 tempo. But I'm a little bit puzzled that Wale is letting this gap develop. El Bakkali too, obviously biding his time. I think this is, by the standards of several of these men, this is more of a cat and mouse race.
Yeah, it was funny, wasn't it? Your Bet was sitting back in the pack a little bit, made a big move to get to the front, covered a lot of ground. The others saw him come round, they couldn't move with him, gave him this little lead. It's not getting any bigger, but they're not chasing him down. El Bakkali now a little bit more interested, a slight stumble back in the field there, but at least Bet is you know, thinking, okay, I'm going to go for this. I'm going to try my best to get things moving along. 3 laps to go, though. And El Bakkali's just slowed up again there. So if they keep doing this, Tim, he could get a 30-40 meter lead, and then that would be it, I would suggest.
Well, I would imagine if he's got an agent or a coach in the stadium, they'd be screaming just at him, Steve, you know, screaming, look, the pack aren't really up for it. They don't look to be too hungry to go with you, so just put in another hard couple of straights, and you can open up a sizable gap here and really make an impression that might not be clawed back. Interesting. I'm interested to see a couple of European athletes here. Zach Seddon, the British #1, and Topi Raitanen of Finland towards the back of this field. They ran in Turku on Tuesday, and Raitanen won there in 8:22. Zach Seddon had a bit of a nightmare, 8:36, and of course there is this massive gulf between the majority of the top Europeans and so many of the Africans, and including the Moroccans, of course, because they have a rich tradition in this discipline.
Well, a 2:47 for that kilometre, and that really is testimony to the fact that it looked like he was going quicker, and he wasn't. We were going slower, but the others have woken up at last. They've reeled him in. Matt Hughes got the pack moving, really. El Bakkali's taken on. Zach Seddon of Great Britain and one of the others are running well. Still places to be got there with 2 to go. El Bakkali, though, has gone to the front. Bet stuttering. Hughes just behind him. Will El Bakkali get a gap here?
Well, I was going to say, you know, there's the opportunity here for somebody to grab this race by the horns and dominate. Bakkali has got the quality, he's got the ability, and as he pushes on down the home straight, he's dragging this pair with him, and the 3 of them beginning to get away. Back in 5th place, that is Caro wearing the headband. Oh, and who's that gone down? Was that Garma? Oh, Wale, I think, at the water jump. But it's Hughes in 3rd place, having a really good run. Matt Hughes, the national record holder for Canada, really consistent performer. 6th in the World Championships back in 2013. Remember those in Moscow as the leaders hit the bell. Matt Hughes, 8th in 2015 in Beijing, in 3rd place. But the leading pair now, El Bakkali and Bet, just beginning to ease away from him, and he's in 3rd place, and in no man's land, the Canadian. The world best, by the way, a very modest 8:19 by Japan's Ryuji Miura. That is living on borrowed time as El Bakkali maintains that 3-meter lead. 200 to run. Get these barriers right, drive hard, get the water jump right. A badly taken barrier, well taken water jump can make such a difference, meters of difference. But El Bakkali beginning to stretch away now. Clears that one well, then digs deep. He always wears his heart in his sleeve, does El Bakkali. He's a very emotional runner. If he has a bad run, he can be in tears. If he has a great run, he celebrates very overtly. And now he checks over his shoulder. He can see he's got that 15-meter lead, 10-meter lead maybe to Bet, and can celebrate before the line. The time, well, it's pretty quick. 8:08.04, about half a second ahead of a closing Bet there, Leonard Bet. Good running from El Bakkali, particularly, Steve, as he pointed out, with that 2nd kilometre, 2:47. They've closed really well.
Well, El Bakkali judged it really well. It looked for a moment down the back straight that Bet was going to hang on to him and perhaps muster a finishing kick. I think it was all over at the water jump, though. We'll see on the replay. El Bakkali took it in his stride, hurdles the water jump. He's a tall guy, hurdled it. Sorry, no, he put his foot on it, got a good extension of it. Bet hurdled it and lost momentum on landing. 5 yards turned into 8-9 yards, and I was there. You go, watch there. Bet just, that wasn't actually on the last lap. That was the fall from Wale, I think it was. This was in the latter stages. Hughes had done a good job to try and hang on to these 2. I knew that would happen. I was talking about the water jump and they've missed it out. Anyway, El Bakkali up the last barrier, nicely done. Little look behind, then the waving can start. He knows he's got it won, and as you said, Tim, came back very nicely after that middle kilometre when it slowed somewhat. So in the absence of Kipruto, he takes centre stage.
There it is, El Bakali, a world lead, 8:08.04, taking over 10 seconds off the world best. Bet, a close second, and good running from Bedrani in front effectively of the home crowd in third place, 8:13.43.
Well, we've had an unbelievably good night in Monaco. Lots of surprises, perhaps, but the headlines were all of the fast times. Duplantis produced a 6-metre vault in the field, but I think the track was where all of the big performances happened. Chariot, 3:28 records behind him. Obiri winning the 5,000 metres for women, but it was Cheptegei with that world record, 12:35 and bits. He's the big star of Monaco.